Hi everybody. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is Pilates, and Pilates is obviously a huge passion of mine. A lot of people when they contact me want to know the difference between Pilates and yoga. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but what I am going to go into is the benefits of Pilates and why I'm personally so passionate about Pilates as a technique. The first thing I would say to you is that if you're looking to do Pilates, it's not a weight loss program. So you do not elevate the CV system, you don't increase your metabolism by doing Pilates, and I would be dishonest if I was to say that to anybody. So that's the thing that Pilates doesn't do, but there are so many things that Pilates can do for you. I mean, obviously we're all aware, or most people are aware of the benefits of doing Pilates, as in the core strength, toning of muscles, improving flexibility, and they're all relatively well-known benefits. But aside from that, if you have a good teacher that talks to you about how you use your body and thinking about your body as you move through the different positions in class, you start to be aware of how you live in your body. And we've touched on this in other videos. So simply how you stand, how you sit, how you breathe, and how you move in your own body become far more interesting, and you're far more aware of those things once you start practicing Pilates. What people do tell me when they practice Pilates is that they do feel that their tummy is more toned, but the scales don't say anything different. So they've not physically lost any weight on the scales, but they can do their jeans up a lot more comfortably. People tell me that they stand better. People tell me that they feel their posture's improved, and people feel that they're younger in the way that they carry themselves. So these are all very difficult things to quantify and measure, but these are the kind of things that people tell me when they come to Pilates and they've been doing Pilates for a while. And many of my class members have been with me for probably over 18 years now. So quite clearly these people are feeling the benefits and come back week after week because they know how good it is for their body. Now, I'm not saying Pilates is the right type of exercise for everybody, because no two people are the same and no two bodies are the same. The way that I teach Pilates is very slow and very classic, and that might not be everybody's cup of tea. Obviously it works for my class members, but I've been in the industry long enough to appreciate that might not be the right thing for everybody. So the way that I teach Pilates is very slow and classical, lots of nagging about breathing and technique, and I work from 3 different areas of the core as well, which I'm going to go into in a few moments with you. The one thing I would say about Pilates that does need to be taken on board before you embark on a training program is that it is a technique. So you do need to learn the way to breathe. You need to learn how to engage and connect the right muscles in the body and how to position the body correctly. And those are the things that take a little bit of time. The most common thing that beginners say to me is, the breathing confused me, or I didn't know when I should be holding my stomach muscles in and when I should be letting my stomach muscles go. And again, although that's not strictly what we need to be doing in Pilates, I will cover that in a few moments. So in a couple of seconds, I'm going to pop myself down the floor and just go through the basic breathing and how to connect with the core from the pelvic floor, the deep-seated abdominals and the superficial abdominals. So this is something that I would do with any of my beginners groups, and I remind my regular classes relatively regularly about this as well, just as a reminder and a recap. So that's what we're going to be doing in a few moments, so hold on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go through the basic positioning for Pilates mat work in a semi-supine position. So if I were to go through this in a live class, what I would be looking at initially is just making sure that the head was in a comfortable position. Now, I've got a ponytail today. My head's probably a tad higher than I would normally have it. Some people really benefit from having a cushion behind their head, a rolled up towel behind their neck, or some people manage quite perfectly without. So for me, normally I would manage without. Today, I've got a ponytail behind my head back, so I'm probably a little bit higher in the head than I would normally be. The next thing I would ask you to do is make sure that the shoulders are as relaxed as possible. So for most people, that would be a case of walking the shoulders down away from the ears and feeling a sense of the width of the shoulder blades relaxing into the floor. So there's length in the neck from the earlobe down to the shoulder, and the shoulder blades relaxing into the floor as much as possible. As we come down through to the lower body, and I'm going to go through pelvis in a moment, but as we come through the lower body, we want the knees on a comfortable bend, so there's a comfortable angle on the knees. And we want the legs parallel from the hips down to the knees, down to the big toes. So there's a parallel line all the way through the body. We want the toes relaxed, the feet softened and relaxed into the floor. So the things that we'd be looking to avoid within this position, if we come up to the head, would be having so much support behind the head that the chin's nodded in, because that's the last kind of posture that I want to reinforce for the neck and the shoulders. If we're rounded through the upper back and shoulders because of the positioning, that's something we need to address and try and correct as much as possible. As we come down through the legs, if we've got the knees glued together and the feet out, this has implications for the hip joints and the knee joints, and equally the same way if we're rolled out to the other side. Neither way would we have the benefits that we need to get from Pilates. So we're very much in that parallel line through the body. What I'm now going to do is go through that pelvic positioning. So this is something that people tend to find quite confusing at the start. What I would undermine, or what I'd confirm or reiterate, is that it needs to be comfortable in movement for your body. So you would never move your body into pain in order to find your neutral curve. So I'm just going to roll my top up so that you can see more visibly this lumbar pelvic region of my back. And I'm personally somebody that's very hollow in the lower back, so I would not want you to look at this video and think that's how my lower back needs to look, because for me there's a very deep curve. That's not a great thing. It's something that I manage because of Pilates, but it's not what you'd want to aspire to. That's just the way that my back is. It's the way that I'm built. But the two positions that we go through in particular is pelvic tilt posteriorly and anteriorly. So if I'm looking for a posterior tilt, what I'm looking to do is bring the lumbar spine gently down into the floor, pelvis tilting upwards. And this means that the pubic bone is tipping upwards. I'm not pulling in with the abdominal muscles. I'm keeping the centre of the body quite relaxed. There's a sense of a very, very gentle compression into the floor with the back. And then from there, we're going to come back to centre. So this is one extreme position that we could take the back through. The other extreme that we could go through, the other range of movement, is anterior tilt and extension. So I don't have a great deal of movement here because I already live naturally my posture in a degree of anterior tilt. So this one, there's less movement for me. It might be for you that it's different, quite possibly for many of us. So that's my other extreme. So I tend to go through those two movements a few times with the body, just feeling the range that my lumbar pelvic region will give me, and then slowly come back through and find what we refer to as neutral spine. So with the spine in neutral, there should be a sense of a small curve in the lower back. I tend to talk about being able to slide pencil into that hollow, but not your entire hand. So what I've done is brought my spine back to what I feel is neutral. I also talk to class members about having a cup of tea or a tray of drinks resting on the pelvis. This area of the body, in theory, should remain relatively still and relatively stable. So once we've created that neutral position, that should feel comfortable, and we should be able to hold that position for sustained periods of time. So if you're in neutral and it's causing you any problems, that would mean that there's something quite interesting going on there. That would need to be checked out, because a neutral curve should be quite comfortable and tolerable, even for those of us that have some non-specific mechanical lower back pain. That should be a relatively comfortable position. So there are three areas that I tend to look at specifically with my class members for engaging the core. And the first area is the base of the core. So I'm looking at the pelvic floor, drawing up into the centre of the body. So it's really important to remember the pelvic floor muscles can be drawn up and they can also be pushed down with. And what I'm looking for is a sense of drawing up. If we think about the core like the core of an apple, what we're doing is engaging muscles quite internal to the unit rather than external. We're always working with connections with the core on the exhalation. So the work always happens on the breath out. The inhalation is always through the nose because that's a warm filtered breath. But more importantly, it's a rib cage thoracic breath. So we'd be looking to expand into the rib cage. So there's a lot to think about there. The rib cage looks to expand on the inhalation, and on the exhale, we're looking to recruit muscles within the core. Just learning to breathe into the rib cage and learning to breathe deeply is something that can take some people quite a while to actually master, and that's okay. We all learn at different speeds. But if we think about that rib cage region of our torso, what we're looking for is to inhale and inflate the ribs, and on the exhale through the mouth, we're engaging the muscles of the core. So initially I'm looking to take a deep breath in through the nose, and on the exhale, drawing up through the pelvic floor with nothing altering around that lumbar pelvic region of the back. And again, we take that deep breath in to feel the rib cage expand and widen. And on the exhale, drawing up through the pelvic floor muscles, maintaining that neutral position. And just once more, that deep breath in, ribs and diaphragm inflate and expand. And on the exhale, drawing up through the pelvic floor. And then let's let those muscles go for a moment, and let's look at transverse abdominis. So I tend to teach people to activate their transverse by physically feeling these muscles. So if I were to place my heels of my hands on my hip bones, fingertips pointing towards my pubic bone, there's a kind of sling of muscles here, the TVA muscles, that are really, really integral to the success of core strength and stability of the back. So what I'm going to be doing in this instance is on the inhalation, breathing up into the ribs. So in theory, my hands won't rise. On the exhale, I'm looking to make tension, mild tension, from my hip bones down to my pubic bones. So again, a deep breath in through the rib cage. And on the exhale, that drawing in through the low belly, lumbar spine staying in neutral. And again, I'm inhaling to inflate ribs and chest. And on the exhale, low belly muscles contracting. And we'll do just one more. Deep breath in, ribs expanding. And on the exhale, low belly connection. And the last area that I would look at is the obvious six-pack muscles, the more global muscles. So we do give a nod to these, although they're the muscles that I would work the least frequently in class. So I'm working below the navel, so I've got the flat of my hand just below my belly button, and there's an invisible zip line from the belly button, the umbilicus, down to the pubic bone. So I still have that neutral curve, but because these are more dominant muscles, what I want to make sure is if I'm going to recruit these muscles, I don't pull in with them so tightly that I'm compressing into my spine, and I'm not compressing down into the floor. So I've got my other hand just in that hollow of my back, just to check that that part of my back stays steady. And the way that we'd work with this part of the core is to inhale into the rib cage. And on the exhale, I'm just drawing that low belly into a mild contraction without compressing my back down into the floor. And again, on the inhale, I'm inflating ribs and chest. And on the exhale, there's a flattening of the umbilicus down to pubic bone. So belly button down to pubic bone without compressing the spine. And just once more, on the inhale, I let the tension go, breathing in. And on the exhale, there's a contracting of that low belly region, keeping the spine in neutral. Once we've mastered this technique, we can then start to move into all the different exercises, and there'll be videos that actually explain that to you further on. Thank you for watching this video.